sort of as we go. I think I switched over my screen. Okay, so that's now live. What's up, Sarva? All right, so I got like probably now an hour to just try and see if I can crank on anything with the AI agents. I'm working with, actually, I don't know what model this is. This is actually GPT-5.2. This is the one I've been working with. I have not switched over, so I'm going to do that momentarily. I've got GPT-5.2 Codex over here, and then in the middle, I've got just GPT-5.2, since that's what I was working on right before they launched the new version, and I'm still logged into the old version of Codex. Okay, I'm not super worried about two spiders. So I'm going to set 2 timers. I'll check in once we get down to 0 if there's any comments on either platform, and otherwise I'll just be here so you can comment and we'll see what happens. So did it make any changes? Got an array of detections. Looks like the UI is going to show me if there's multiple detections, and it's going to create multiple detection arrays and stroke them. Okay. So it looks like we got something. Okay, so I'm gonna quit this one. And we'll just make that a little bit bigger. Okay. I just run Codex. I got a new update. Nice. Let's update Codex. There's 0.75. 7.6. Excellent. I'm just going to quit this other codex. Okay, so where we're starting from, I'm going to put my task maybe in the bottom. And just see, I don't think we're probably going to get to one of these tasks at this point. Spent way too much time trying to figure out how to stream on X. So this is my spider detector. I've got a video and I have the ability to drag new crops in. So this is a feature I just sort of threw in there just for previewing. And then I can live step through the video. So you can see there's a male orb weaver here, and then there is a female orb weaver. I'm trying to make sure that the spider is getting detected properly. Right now it's incorrectly saying this is a garden spider. Something about some of the body shape triggers that. If I change what I crop, what I notice is that it now shows that it's 60% confidence that this is a orb weaver Arrhenius, which is exactly what this is. So I am going to be doing multiple crops and doing a new training run, and I need a strategy for doing multiple crops and using the detector box. The problem is with 2 spiders on the screen, my detector is not able to differentiate between the 2. So we're just going to open a different video of a single spider. and I've got just a single spider. This again is a orb weaver. I'll just clear this. So I can step through the video and watch the spider walk around. And the problem that I have is that the detection is wrong. So this is an orb weaver Arrhenius. I'll just write this down here. And depending on how I crop it, I get different spiders. So my classifier is not robust enough, and so that's one of the things that you run into with ML, machine learning. I am doing both detectors, so object detectors and object classifiers. And the detector runs and it gives me this bounding box, which is great. Um, it looks like the UI is going to get a little funky because there's just too much. I need to like trim out some of these buttons at this point. So this is our detector. What happens with CreateML is it will either stretch or skew or it will center crop. And so I've been fighting against this. This is just like one of those things that you've got to learn. This spider, I am now calculating a square crop from whatever the bounding box is, and I can move this around and live preview sort of what kind of spider this is. Now it's going to bounce around right now between Orb Weaver Arrhenius and Orb Weaver Neoscona. Neoscona is not correct. You can tell because this has a cross pattern on its abdomen. So down here, there's a bit of a cross pattern. So that's an Orb Weaver Arrhenius, and this is a male, I believe, that was approaching that female in the other video I have. There's 4 different males. This one actually has 7 legs. It it lost a leg either fighting with one of the other spider males or with the female. It maybe wasn't strong enough, or it attempted to mate and she tried to eat it. Like, I don't know. So this guy, I get a much better detection when I go tight on the spider box, and that's not the same for all spiders. So I have a photo mode, and we can switch over to a photo, and we can go to have more crops, different spiders. We're going to go to my spider photos. I've got a whole data folder of spider photos, and we're going to look for MVP 17. I've got 17 classes of spiders. We're going to go into the crops folder, and we're going to find some other spiders. So if we go for tarantula, that's a nice juicy one. You can see my detector bounds it correctly, and now my crop was off screen, so now we can actually see, and it's 97% accurate that this is a tarantula. Now, as I move around, we can sort of see how that accuracy is going to drift. I have not tested this, but if we go for a center crop, we can still see that it still detects that it is a tarantula 97%. We could go tighter. If I go too tight, then I'm below the threshold for what I need to pass over to Coramel. If we just look at the legs, these legs are nice and hairy. It is flipping now between jumping spider, because they are also similar in this texture, and tarantula. But as soon as we get more of the body, we're going to see that it's going to flip back to tarantula, because that looks like a tarantula head and abdomen. So what we're looking for on accuracy right now is a big jump in confidence level. So I have this other interface that I'm playing around with that I vibe coded, that allows me to sort of see what's the margin. So this one has a margin of 97%, which is the difference between the top, which is tarantula, and the bottom, which is jumping spider. So the next lowest score. And that's an important sort of quality control thing. And so we can test, like, is this good enough? And right now we're a little too short, so we got to make it a little bit bigger to get to that minimum threshold of 360 by 360 pixels, which is what my model needs. And we can see that this is like highly confident. If I add a crop, it works. If I go for the full crop, let's just grab this guy and say add crop. So we can sort of see the margins 99%, 93%. Um, and then what I want to experiment with is, okay, let's say I take that spider crop and I zoom in and do like a 1.5x zoom. So if we do something like that and take a crop, and then let's do a 2x zoom on the body, and let's see if we can get that. It has to be a little bit bigger. And then we add that crop. So now in this interface, I can see all of those different crops and I can see the margin. And so like tarantulas are really easy to identify in my data set because they're very visually distinct. If we look at a different spider, they're going to behave a little bit differently. So let's look at a yellow sac spider. And let's see which one's going to be good here. These are pretty crappy. That one's pretty good. Let's go with some of these. I think are female, and so they look different. Their abdomen gets way bigger when they've got eggs. I actually might not want to be in crops. So let's go back up to test 100, and let's go back to yellow sac spiders. So this one might be a good one. So let's open this one. So we can see that the detector has found the spider. Looks like it's not clearing my draft preview when I switch, but that's okay. So I've got 88% accuracy for this. If I were to add that crop and match it, we're going to get a margin of 64%, which is pretty accurate. So that's one where I would have like a high confidence level. And now if we just start playing around with, okay, how do I frame this and move the detector around wherever that is, we're going to see the accuracy is going to change a little bit. So it looks like seeing that abdomen is really an identifying feature with my current training model. As soon as I go over here, the confidence is going down, and now it thinks it's a cellar spider because of those legs. So this is where it's now cellar spider, brown spider, yellow sac spider is now third. So that would be an incorrect crop. But if we look at this one, we can see this is how big. So I still have more to punch in, which is good. I'm using the original resolution photos from iNaturalist. So if I grab that, we can see the margin 64%, which is a high confidence. This versus a brown widow. It's clearly not a brown widow. This one's got a 91% margin. Now, what I want to test is my new algorithm. I need to be able to punch in closer. So how is this going to look if we get a little bit more detailed? It's 89%. It looks like I add this and our margin is going to go, which way is it appending? 81%, is that matching? So it's appending to the bottom. Like this is something where I could just ask Codex to make it so that it appends to the top so that we can always see the new crop at the very top. So let's just do that. I'm using whisper flow. So when I talk, holding this function key down or function key space, we're going to see this little UI down here. That is for dictation with whisper flow, which is this little app icon up top. So this allows me to talk, and then when I let go, we're going to see the transcript appears here. And if I had focus here, I could paste it, or I can click this button and paste the last transcript. I don't want to send that, so I'm just going to do Control C, and we'll go back. Can you make it so that when we are adding a new crop to the crop list, that it gets added to the top of the crop list, so that if I'm at the top, I can see the new crop right away instead of having to hunt for it at the bottom of the list? Now I end that, and then we'll just send this to Codex. So the nice thing about the new Codex 5.2 and 5.2 Codex, which is designed for coding, and I'm using the medium quality right now, is that it is really good. It wants a name. You are Jim. So I'll just interrupt it, say its name. I have some build scripts that require the agent, so we're going to see that. All right, so that's whisper flow. I'll just close this. And we're going to check out the next level crop that I want to do. So like this is where I'm a little concerned. If I'm too tight, it becomes a fishing spider. So it's seeing the head, and then it's too small when I get that small. Oh, it's not giving me the live size. Okay, I thought I had more pixels to work with. So this is my thought, is like I could try zooming in as long as it doesn't flip. Well, it might flip species. That's kind of okay. We just want to know what are the high confidence matches and like how confident they are. And if I have multiple ones, then we're going to use that. The other thing I want to do is maybe add a predictable jitter where I just go like the 4 quadrants, like skew it left, right, bottom, and look to see if there's something that's going to work there. So if I add this crop, we're going to see that's a fishing spider with a huge margin. That's not great. Without that abdomen, it's not yellow sac. And now with just the abdomen, now it thinks it's a crab spider. So now we've just flip-flopped. Confidence is there. And if I try this one, we add a crop, brown widow. So now we're like jumping all over the place. So this is the challenge with the wrong type of crop algorithm is going to really throw off this. If I do the original crop and I add it, this one's 97%. So if we look at, where did I put that? Oh, it's this window. We'll see this here. And we can just check on our agents, see what they're doing. I didn't even onboard them. So they're like reading over best practices, learning how to get started. So I've got a whole bunch of things. I don't even know if I need all of that anymore with the intelligence of these models. So it looks like the 4 corner strategy is not going to be effective with this, especially if I'm losing on the body. But if I get the whole body, then we're in a better spot. If I do probably 1.5 zoom like this and center it on the main spider, what that's going to look like in my mind is I'm going to first do the spider detector as a rectangle to get the body shape. And then I am going to do a square arachnid or spider detector on that region. And I should be able to then figure out where the spider sits in the frame. And that's going to help me if I ever want to zoom in on the body, because then I can just zoom in and hopefully we're preserving more detail here and not too much. But like that might be 1.5 zoom. If I go tighter, this is where it's flipping species and we don't like that. But having additional training, so there's 2 sides to this. I need to train with more spider photos, and I need to train. Then I need to do detection with more crops, and then sort of look at what the leading indicators are. And we're really looking for where the confidence is super high. So if I add this crop, we should see that at the bottom of the list at this point. All right, so let's see what we've got going on here. All right, so it's trying to actually do all this testing. I'm going to say no, and I'm just going to give it full access, and I say continue. And let's see what it's done. Do I have any new commits yet? Okay, so it's inserting at the beginning of the list, a single line of code. Great. I could have done that myself, but it took the agent 2 minutes, and now it's trying to verify that it works. So let's go ahead and run it ourselves. I'm going to just restart it from Xcode. It's going to load up my spider movie, and we want to drag. Let's go for 1.5 zoom. So that'd be something like this, centered on the body. So we add that crop, brings up this panel. And we see I've got a 16% margin that this is a wood-loose hunter, which is wrong. And then we'll do a 2x zoom on this, and we add that crop, and then this gives me a margin of 56%. So Orb Weaver Arrhenius beat Wood-loose Hunters by 56 percentage points. So that's the type of stuff that I have to do. This is a video. I don't think I've got the video player hooked up. Does this even work? It's not going to step. So I can use the keyboard keys to sort of step through. And so it's going to detect in real time. The other stuff's going to, I think, lag behind because it's not going to be able to keep up. It's probably queuing all this on the, actually, we've got the draft stuff going. So, but that's kind of what we're looking at. And I need to come up with an algorithm, which I'm hoping to use GPT to help me with. So if we just crop again, and let's just prove that what it did just worked. So I'm going to do off body shot. Now this thinks it's a garden spider. And we see that this is here, this is here. The margin is 11%, so it's not as strong. The next best is a Orb Weaver Arrhenius, and that is at 37%. Sorry, 10%. I'm reading it. Now, wait, these numbers are this alignment is terrible, okay? So I'm going to ask it to flip that around, okay? Can you move the percentage in front of the species name and make it so that it has a constant width of 50 and make it right aligned so that it butts up against the top species name? It's really hard to read the species and the percentage in the current layout. Can you make this change on both the draft preview as well as the normal top species as well as the, I don't know what we're calling it, the crop list? They all need to have percentages directly in front of the species name. Otherwise, it's impossible for me to read them. Same with the good and the bad qualifiers as well. Okay, I didn't click in this text box, so that was me talking to it, but we'll go up to Whisper Flow and paste the last transcript and press enter and just have Jim do that. He's spending a little bit too much time trying to verify with Peekaboo. Don't bother with Peekaboo right now. I can test it really quickly for you. If you can just write the code, then we can just keep on moving forward. There is a new version of Peekaboo, so we could download and install that from Peter Steinberger. And Peekaboo is one of the ways that you can give your agent vision. Looks like we've got some new stuff. So I don't know how I've installed it in the past. Let's see if we can just do brew update Peekaboo. Why can't the update command just work? Upgrade Peekaboo. Like update and upgrade are so close. All right, so I just got the beta 2. I don't know what changed for this, but that's something else that we could sort of see. That might invalidate some of the documentation that my agents have been using. It looks like we're getting some changes right now. The one downside of scrolling and ghosty with Codex going is that it will start messing up the layout. So you lose lines of text. Get some coffee. Keep all my coffee in these thermoses, and then it's warm in my cup. So this is a Hario V60 that I made earlier today. I also made a shot of espresso using the manual rock espresso maker. And we'll see how I feel today because I did get a COVID and flu shot, And because we're going to be traveling, I've got 2 kids, don't want to get sick. So kids always bring home stuff from daycare. We'll see. Last year we had RSV at Christmas. So this is on GitHub. Super nice. Got a muscly ghost for a peekaboo. And you can see that Peter Steinberger is using like a similar agent now to update the websites and direct you to GitHub and talk about how it works. So it can do all of these things. So that's what the agent was trying to do. They still struggle with it a little bit. So is it running UI tests? I don't know what you're doing, dude. Please don't run all the tests. We are only running a subset of the tests. It just should be ARA test, I believe. We've broken a lot of the tests by refactoring, so do not trust all of the tests except in the ARA test target. I'm just going to interrupt it. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's done, so at this point, we'll just drive it from Xcode. I don't even remember. What did I ask it to do? Yes, that's amazing. Like my okay, so my timer's going off. I'm gonna check comments. So if you have some comments, I'm gonna check over here. Hey, Pearl Guy 67. I'm doing pretty good, as well as you can after a flu shot and COVID shot. And then we got D Hanush. What's up? I don't know if my stream is like dropping frames. It looks like it's dropping frames, so I might have to stream. Like the stream house says it's poor. Like, do you see a lot of hiccups or hitches in my stream? I'm trying meld, and I don't know. Doing 4K stream might be bad, and then I'm also trying to do a mobile friendly stream, which you can't even see anything. So, can I even control where it's looking? Or is it just doing a center punch out? It's like useless right now. So that might be a misstep on my part. Let's check over on X. I don't see any chats on X. Okay. I guess I'll just go back to YouTube chat because that's the only one place I see people chatting. Winning price of a hackathon. Do I have like, I must have an old thumbnail up for my YouTube stream that's talking about hackathon and not my spider stream agents. I don't know if I can change that. I'm trying to see what YouTube gives me for tools. Ah, yes, my thumbnail is old. Let's pull up Pixelmator. Okay, so let's just do, what did I call this? We'll just center align. Oh, okay, so I'm just gonna change that thumbnail because that is super old. In terms of winning a hackathon, so I did 3 hackathons at GoPro, and I won a thermos like this, but white. I was supposed to get a jacket, I think, but then we had layoffs, so I never got the jacket. Slightly sad. So new playlist. Okay, so next time we come back here, this should be better. I don't know if I can make it so that this is more. Okay, so we are not doing a hackathon. We're not doing coffee right now. Okay. So what I like is that I can just give a task to Codex 5.2 now, and it just grinds on it. I don't know. Can I change my stream? Okay, so I can't change the latency once I've started it, which I guess makes sense. Okay, this is amazing because I can now actually see these numbers. I know these numbers are really small for you, but there's a lot of spiders I'm classifying against, and what we're trying to do is figure out a way to make this more accurate. So I'm going to see if we can do a new task. Okay, and if I do a add crop, excellent. So we see our new crop UI, and if I add one more crop and go super tight on this orb weaver, add crop, we see that the margin is 58%. I wanted to add the margin to the draft preview. Please add the margin to the draft preview so I can see that without having to pull up the other interface, and make sure it gets updated as I drag around along with the other stats that are getting updated live. So we'll just paste that in from Whisper Flow, let it get going on that. I don't know what's doing its commits. It looks like it didn't do a commit. After you're finished with that, can you make sure you do an atomic commit on your most recent changes? We'll queue up a message. And then I really want to get another agent going here. So let's open up a second Codex terminal. And I'm going to get a couple agents probably working. Oh, man, I am out of time. We'll see how far we can go. I will start the timer and go from here. Okay, so for the second agent, what I want to do is I want to focus on what I wrote down in my notes here. Now that we've had a chance to sort of play around with the tool. So I'm going to talk to Whisper Flow. So I need to be able to use the rectangle spider detector on the full frame. And then within that rectangle, I actually want to run the spider detector in a square crop configuration rather than the full frame. I forget exactly what setting that was, but setting it to like aspect fit or fill seemed to do that. So we need to do that so I can get a square punch out of the spider within those bounds. That way I can sort of cheat to whatever side the spider is in the detector. And then what I want to do is I want to create a crop from that. I then want to do a 1.5x zoom in and do a crop there. And then I want to zoom in 2x and do a crop there. Now, if the detail doesn't let me zoom in, I would like the fallback to at least give me whatever it can. If there's like a, let's see, if let's say the center crop, so these all should be square crops. If the crop is under 360 by 360, um, can you just anchor whatever the center is in the full frame and give me the native resolution to give me the most detail possible for the 360 by 360 crop? And we'll use that as a starting point. So please explain how this algorithm is going to work. I want you to onboard briefly. We're not going to worry about Peekaboo just yet. We're kind of thinking through how to do this, and I'm going to want unit tests to verify that we're cropping correctly and that we are doing two instances of the spider crop. So the first one should essentially give us a rectangle. It's not guaranteed to be square. And then the next one should give us a square, and that's what we're going to use for detection and then be able to zoom in. I may want to try jittering it, but at this point, we're just going to do a straight zoom in using the anchor point of the center and get more detail of the spider body. What I'm noticing is that the orb weaver Arrhenius, I really need to see the abdomen. And when we're so far zoomed out, it gets picked up as the wrong spider. I think the background is also getting confused. This same logic we're going to have to do with our training set. So I need to have the rules defined up in front so that I can do the same logic in the CLI cropping. We're going to do this both at inference level as well as the training. So we need to be able to leverage the same type of code and the same rules to start. Please poke any holes in this plan. I want to keep this as simple as possible so let's not overcomplicate it. I don't want to have a ton of fallback logic. but I want to try and see if we can get more crops. Now, if the crops don't end up being different, um, I don't know if we need to get hashes of them to make it worthwhile. I think we just need simplest logic possible to start. So don't overcomplicate. Let's try and get something super simple tests that can verify that it's zooming in and that the pixels are not the same. Okay, so we'll start that agent. So that's my second agent. I didn't give them a name, but maybe they're just going to get started. Okay, so we'll have to give them a name. They're giving us a lot of text to read. Now, with agents, you don't have to be perfectly spelling correct. So I misspelled separate, and it's going to just figure it out. This one gave us a lot of text to read. So one of the challenges with AI agents is they'll give you lots of text. Um, and so you'll just have to use and read. um, okay, so it's pushing back on how my simple logic is. What I didn't want it to do is I don't want it to have a fallback. Um, I don't want it to pick its own fallbacks. That's my point. Okay, so we're going to talk to. Oh, there's still some more logic here. Okay, so I'm going to use whisper flow to just redirect. Okay, so typically what I would do is I would read this and respond. So I kind of didn't do that, but let's just walk through it, and I'll talk to whisper flow right now. So we're going to run the detector on the full frame. That's going to give us a rectangle non-square crop because we're just doing the normal bounds of the detector, because that's going to present something that's going to be usable for the user when we live draw a rectangle around the spider. Um, then with that crop, we are going to run the second detector. It's the same model, but it's going to be configured to do square crops at the API level. So we're going to do either aspect fit or aspect fill to get a crop within the bounds. That's going to be our second crop that we're going to use. That will get downscaled to 360 by 360. Both of these artifacts need to be labeled and in the debug snapshot. Then we are going to take that new square rectangle. It should be square at this point. If it is off frame and it's non-square, we need to make sure that it does get square. So just center, punch out um, the a square at full resolution, and then downscale that as an artifact to use. Well, that should be your first square. Then with the 1.5 zoom, that's going to be our new rectangle. We are going to try and zoom in 1.5x. As long as that's over the 360 by 360, We will use that, and we're going to downscale whatever crop we get from that to 360 by 360. We're going to save both of those artifacts to disk in the debug snapshot. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to do a 2x zoom. As long as that's over the 360 by 360, we will use that. And that's centered around whatever the square crop was. So we're just zooming into the center. We're going to save that artifact, and then we're going to downsample it to 360 by 360. And then we are going to, if either of those like two crops, either the 1.5x or the 2x fail, then the only thing I want is to do native resolution centered around that square crop. So that might be it might not be like a 2x zoom or a 1.5x zoom. It's going to be whatever it is. So it might be a smaller crop, and just because the photo is smaller. I don't want you to create any fallbacks. The whole point is I want to have complete control over the fallback logic. So if there's a question about fallbacks, you bring it up to me. You don't just hard code something. That is my point here. Too many times agents decide to do something that is not beneficial. And so I want to make sure that I am in the driver's seat for any kind of fallback behavior. Okay, so all of the artifacts that we're doing for this zoom logic, we should create an array of new images. There's going to be stuff for the debug snapshot that gets saved to disk so that the agents can inspect and I can inspect and verify that this is working properly. Each of these needs to be labeled with 1.5x zoom or 2x zoom or native zoom, let's call it. Those are our artifacts. And then if it gets resized, do underscore resized so that it's differentiated from the full resolution versus the resized. All of our logic for punching out additional crops needs to be on that original resolution file, not the downscaled file. The downscaled files are what we're going to send to Inference. This function needs to return the crops to be used for detection, or sorry, classification. We run only 360 by 360, which is going to be the same. It's going to be whatever our model size is. So there should be a constant for this. Make sure that you're using that constant and just not hard coding it. And then I want to know, like, I want debug output to say, okay, how many different crops were created each time we do this. So if we're able to create all these different crop sizes, print out messages for each one. If we're doing our fallback logic and just doing native resolution, print that out. If we get no crops out of it, print that out. All right, I think that answers all of your questions and clarifies things. So let's see if that's enough for you to create a task and get started. Okay, so I just finished talking to the agent. I put my cursor here, and so we're going to see that it pasted 994 characters. We press enter, and it's going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so it has 3 more questions. How do I know if I want which one? Oh, that's how we can know. We have the ability to change it here. So detector, rect, square edge. And let's clear draft. Okay, so I have the full frame option here. So here we see the full frame. It thinks it's a house spider. If I go to the detector rec, it thinks it's a yellow sac spider. If I go to the square long edge, that's very similar to what it's already done. And then if I go to square short edge, we're going to see this. So right now that bounding box is really big. If I go to the next frame, we'll see like here it's not going to be the same. Looks like there's actually 2 detections here. That's interesting. Oh. Wait, is it choosing it looks like it's choosing the square. Is it running 2 different ones right now? So it shows detections 1, but it rendered 2 squares, which is confusing. I think something's wrong with this logic. Okay, so here I can see this is the long edge square, and then this is the short edge square. And then detector rec is that. Oh, so it's visualizing what the short edge is over here. I get it now. So the blue is the actual bounding box. That actually helps me frame it. So if I zoom in 2x here, like that should keep it on the spider. Okay, so here's the setting, scale fill. If I go back to detector rec, this is not going to be doing any of my square logic. So scale fill is going to do a detection region this big. Scale fit is this big. And center crop, none of those are square. That's interesting. I thought this would do square. Maybe it was just odd behaviors that I saw before. Changing all of this is going to totally warp things. So it's got the wrong spider right now. I could have sworn that it could give me square. Does Apple mention if the square, if either the aspect fit or the aspect fill versus the other setting we had here was just center crop? Does it mention if any of those will give me a square? Like, I feel like I've seen it in the past, but I don't know if it's my own logic doing it. And if I'm totally wrong about this, then my logic's not going to work exactly like I expect. To me, it looks like scale fill is going to give me the tightest crop versus center crop. Um, so let's go with scale fill. And then when both of our zooms fail, we should try and get the native crop for inference. So if either of those fail, I think regardless, we get native crops. There's 3 different crops. If the 1.5 or 2x are below our minimum threshold for size, let's just print a message and ignore that. Just return the ones that you can, which might just be native resolution. And then we should save every artifact that you generate as both full res and resized. So full res is whatever you get out of the bounds, punched out from the level above that you're using. Resized is always 360 by 360, which should be our minimum edge length. And that is a constant in the application that you need to reuse. Your name is Bob. Do not bother with Peekaboo or UI testing at this time. The only tests that work right now are the ARA tests. We have a small subset since we've done a big refactor. Half the app is broken, so we're just going to be focused on what we have right here on a subset of testing. Okay, and just make sure that we're using the OS log um, for our logging so that we can filter easily in Xcode or on console. All right, so I've got a message now for this agent. So you can see this is my transcript, and it's sort of cleaned up. It's not exactly what I said. It's going to be modified to be a little bit more specific. So it's going to go ahead and get started. It's going to do some of its onboarding that it needs to do in order to work in this directory. Okay. So if we look at my current status, I see I'm 2 ahead. Um, can you give me the rules once you've established them so that I can send them over to the agent working on the CLI tooling to do the same type of logic for creating these different crops? I need to augment our training data. Okay, so that agent's going to give us some rules. Let's take a look at create ML. I only have a little bit of time left, so I'll show you what I'm working with. So I have an image quality classifier that actually works surprisingly well. I can just paste in images and it can tell me if they're good or bad. Um, is that not the right one?